Welcome to the weekly PISTLE podcast. At the end of this hour, we want you better than when we started.
Only you could come up with some shit like that.
Hey,
I'm going to take a
that's
survey.
the truth.
I'm going
That's
to take
the
a survey
truth.
to find out if they actually like that shit.
Truth.
Not a
That's a true
soundbite it and
statement.
loop it every time, so you don't have to keep doing it.
Just
But
keep-
you do have a radio voice.
It's coming.
He does. He totally has radio voice.
That's also my bedroom voice. Oh, yeah.
So I was strangely aroused by that.
welcome to Mark's bedroom. At the end of this hour,
An hour, huh? That long.
You're gonna
Look,
lose all
you
of
just
it.
got your new job. You have like one of those 900 number jobs.
I've already had that job.
You were fired from it?
Yeah.
Okay, so this week the topic came from one of the officers who listens to our podcast, and I think he had a fire lit under his ass. He was pretty pissed off, and not for any one particular reason, but he wanted us to talk about when we retire. And I don't know so much just retire with PTSD, just retire in general. He does have PTSD, so he asked if we could talk about what we went through and how we got through it with our identity, not being a cop anymore, and trying to find that balance of who we really are. Because for most of us, we were cops for a pretty significant amount of time. And most of us did our whole life building up to that career, right? Because your buddies want to go out and drink and, snort fucking cocaine out of a hooker's ass and shit. You're like, no, I'm going to be a cop.
My buddies never wanted to.
I'm going to be a cop.
I don't know where
You got some lame friends.
Yeah, you're lame.
Gosh, dang.
You're a nerd.
You probably got straight B's in school too, right?
Probably.
Big stupid.
What a nerd.
Don't know so much.
So, I don't know who would go first, but like, Josh, you want to start? You had the least amount of time on, so I know what you don't want to go back to. We've talked about that. You definitely don't want to go back to your old job.
Yeah. Yeah, it was short. I don't think I had that problem of my identity being a cop because I only did it for 3 years, so I never really got that full grasp. I didn't feel like I had completely earned my stripes, so to say. I didn't feel, not that I wasn't accepted, but I wouldn't necessarily consider that who I was because I'd done it such a short time. There were so many people who've done it so much longer.
So did you feel like afterwards you're like, fuck, man, I got robbed out of my shit. Like I didn't, you know what I mean? It's like a ball player getting injured and fucking losing his career after 3 years. You didn't really get.
Yeah, it was disappointing.
So what were you dealing with when that finally came to fruition, when you knew you were retired and that was it? Did you struggle with identity at all?
I don't think so, not at the time, because I was dealing with so much other crap. The physical was still going on. There was so much more that the identity part, I didn't get out. I was still not looking for that new job, so I haven't had to go out and face the world in that aspect, I guess.
So have you had any struggles with, like, what to do now? Because you're not that old, right? You're barely 38 years old.
Not even 30. Yeah, no, there's definitely a struggle. I still don't know where it's going to go. I never expected the therapies and everything to continue on 5 days a week, now going on 3.5 years.
Yeah.
So this was unexpected. Every 6 months you think, okay, it's going to come to an end. And in the next couple months, this is all going to be different. I'm going to have to move on. And then it doesn't. So I'm almost gotten to the point where I'm not going to worry about it until it does, because I feel like for the last 2 years, every 6 months I've worried about what am I going to do, where am I going to go next, and it's just been stress to have it fizzle out and not have to make those decisions, not have to find where I was going next.
Not worry about work or anything like that?
No. For me right now, the biggest thing is I've gotten the opportunity to enjoy the family and the kids, so I'm trying to absorb all of that.
Well, on that note, you're probably more just now you're a stay-at-home dad, right? That's your whole fucking job.
On top of still
going,
I have an appointment every day of the week, but for the most part, yeah, it's just stay at home.
And now you got that little creature next to you all day long.
Yeah.
She's pretty,
How's
too.
that working out for you?
You can send her my way when you want.
No, you're not allowed to babysit anyone.
No, I love babies.
There we go again.
Yeah.
Aren't you on probation? Should be. Maybe you should be.
It's been good.
She's so pretty.
It's calming, but the stress comes from not knowing how the day is going to go. Everything's a surprise on when I've got to go somewhere and pick one kid up, or when she's finally going to eat, or when she's going to.
Toughest fucking
you
job
can't
in the world, bro.
plan anything out. So
Yeah.
That'd
like keep you on your toes. So, do you foresee yourself? Do you ever think to yourself, when this runs its course, this is what I'm going to do? Or are you content with maybe just being retired and just being done with it?
No, I'll do something at some point.
I don't think cops have that. Like, actual hardworking cops have that, where they're just like, I'm good doing nothing.
Right.
Like, I think they have that drive of, he still has a lot of life to live to go and do something else.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm sure he loves staying at home and being with the kids.
You know what's a common thing with what you just said, Josh, was we had a new member come in on Monday or Wednesday, and then and we also had one of our older members in PISTLE, and he's going through a lot of the preliminary stuff of it, and he's having a hard time with it too. He's like, I just don't know what to do. Like, I need to know how to plan. And you said something. You said,
Just
the
not knowing
therapy
how.
so many days of the week, and then you said, I'm just not going to worry about it. So I'm asking, have you come to peace with that, in the sense that you have to let go of some of that?
A little bit. I mean, having been retired now over 2 years, but even that last year, I wasn't doing anything. I never went to work. I was sitting at home for that entire year. So
Right.
even working, I was retired. I was away from it. That break, it wasn't easy to walk away, but there was that acceptance within that year that I'm not getting back. I mean, you knew at a certain point, like, I'm not going back. So you have that year to can't prepare for it, but I knew it was coming.
I don't know it's so much of going back. I think it's what the concern is the identity of what we did for whatever length of time it is. Because even if you only did it for 3 years, dude, honestly, is there any other job that compares in your mind to that job?
No.
None.
No.
Nothing.
Right. So what is your thought process moving forward? Like, do you struggle with that adrenaline? Like trying to find purpose again in a job? Like, look, I went to work at a bank. There was no fucking purpose at the bank. I mean, somebody fucking lost their debit card, and I closed it out. And then
Hey, there's
ordered another
purpose for
one.
the purpose for the person
Maybe
who
I
lost
saved their,
it.
maybe I made their day better. I don't know, but it's not the same. So do you
Yeah.
Right.
do you ever think, what are you going to replace that feeling of purpose with? Because whether you're a cop for 1 year or 25 years, there's purpose in that 12 months. Right?
Yeah.
I know you had purpose in those 3 years. So do you think like that, like outside of your daughter? Because I think that by itself is the ultimate purpose. But going back to work, do you think?
No, there's definitely, especially within that I guess first 6 months after, when at that time I thought I'm going to have 6 months and then I'm going to have to find a job. Like, there was that definitely, what am I going to do that has a purpose? What am I going to do that's going to mean anything?
Yeah.
And I don't have any school. I don't have college. I don't have any degree or anything. So I don't know where that falls. I don't know where I'm going to turn.
So you're still struggling then at the beginning stages of this still.
Yeah.
Even a couple years later.
Yeah.
How much do you struggle with the future opposed to the present pain?
I think the pain overrides everything. I mean, I'll have those thoughts of what am I going to do, but the next day those thoughts are gone. The pain's always there.
Right. So do you have for a while I had like Groundhog's Day, like every day was just the same. Do you have, I mean, I know you have doctor's appointments every day, and now you got the little one. So setting aside that, prior to that, what were your days and your identity like before the baby was born? Like, is this my life for fucking forever? Just going to doctors?
Yeah. I mean, I would think of myself or tell people I'm retired, and then I sit and think about it, and I truly feel like I'm 60 because I go to a pain management and I'm in there with 80-year-olds. Like, every doctor I go to is no one's sick, but everyone's old as shit.
Old
Everyone,
as-
God, might as well be retired with everyone here.
You're like the
All
star
my friends-
student, though.
I
You're the star
know.
student.
Every day I go somewhere and go to physical therapy, and they're all old people that get knee
Fucking
replacements.
85-year-old people.
Everywhere I turn, that's who I'm hanging out with.
Dude, they're like, oh, must be nice, be retired. You're like, fuck you.
Push them off the treadmill. Shut,
Motherfuckers.
shut up or I break your other hip.
So how did
kidding.
that fuck with you at all? Mentally, did that get to you, like, in any way?
I guess a little, but it's easier for me to laugh at it and think than to get upset about it. Because like, even then, I still feel like I'm months away from having to start planning my future. Because I don't know when that point comes or
Right.
what I'm going to be, options will be available to me.
And those doctors haven't given you any insight of months, years, days, hours, anything?
No, the biggest issue is I don't have a single doctor overseeing everything. So each one sees me for something specifically.
Right.
And for the most part, each one, I could, if I was just dealing with that, I would be doing something. But when you're dealing with 6 different things and each one has its own appointment throughout the week, or, you know, a therapy that's 3 hours, or an hour drive to an hour therapy and an hour drive back.
So your
It
new
just takes up
career
a day.
is just going to fucking doctors.
For the last 3
Man,
years, it has
fucking
been.
day.
Yeah.
Managing yourself and your health care is
Yeah.
your full-time job.
And
There's
so
no doubt about that.
so in those 5 days you see, for what? I know I've talked to you, and I'm just saying for the people that are listening, because I know your regimen, but it's for your arm.
My
right?
arm, I'll go to physical therapy 2 times a week. I'll see the pain management at least once a month. I have to see every doctor for work comp every 30 days. I mean, has to fall within a 6-week window, so they usually just do it every 30 days. So there's 5 doctors that I see at least once a month, and then I'll have pain management twice a week. I'll see the psych doc once a week. I'll do neurofeedback once a week.
That's a video game, right?
Yeah, that's where you watch a dot flash and retrain your brain. I'll do vision therapy once a week. That's all I'm doing right now. But along the way, there's been countless other therapies that I've gone to once a week or twice a week.
Shit, you ain't even got time to shit, much less think about your future.
Seriously.
And then you've got the little one now, right?
Yeah,
How's that working out?
it's working out. She's calming. She's just to be, when it's just time to sit with her, it's calming. But when I've got to figure out where I'm taking her now, why I go to these appointments, it gets hectic.
So before, when you were an officer, I know for me, I was away from my family more than I was with them. So is this part with the baby, is this new to you? Or do you remember that from your other two because you were part of that as well?
I remember a little, but doing construction, I was
Just busy.
70 hours a week, so
Yeah.
I was way more. I was way more then than I ever was as a cop. I could do my 4 days a week, and then I had 3 days with the kids, and that's all I did. I wasn't working any overtime. That was the first time I got 3 days with my kids,
Right.
so I would spend those days with them. But the baby aspect of it, I remember all of it, but it wasn't as much as it is now.
And how's it going for you right now?
It's all right. I couldn't do it if I didn't have the other two. The previous,
You
I'd be losing my
a
mind.
rookie, you wouldn't have to do
No,
it.
hell no.
He's a rookie dad trying to change shit in diapers.
But now she's the easiest baby I've ever had too.
Yeah.
She is definitely
she doesn't
she's
cry.
a good
She's
kid.
super-
Go
super.
sit her down to go to sleep. She finds her hand and she's out for her
Yeah.
nap. And an hour later she wakes up.
She did really good at the ball game for sure.
Yeah.
That's like one of the easiest babies we have. And for those of you that don't know, a lot of our members have young babies, so we call them service babies opposed to service dogs. We just pass them around, calm us all down and shit. So,
You could make some money off of that.
yeah. All right. So, Mark, what about you? Identity. How was your after that when you were retired?
Right.
What
Well,
did-
for me, it was different because I was a late bloomer. I came into this and I was late 30s when I started. And so I had careers before this. I was in the Air Force for 10 years. And I wasn't going back to that, not with PTSD. And but I was raised, my family had a construction business. And my dad, we've been doing that since I was able to walk. And fortunately for me, it was not it wasn't an easy transition because here were some of my struggles. For starters, I couldn't put in a full day as a construction worker. Fortunately, my brother was there. He crutched me up on one side. My brother-in-law was on the other side, and the two of those guys were carrying my load. I had nephews working for me, so I mean, all the family was in that business working and helping and supporting me and carrying what I couldn't do. So I probably had a really easy transition, and it was work I already knew. So they were able to do that for me. So that was part of it. But I'll tell you this: when you go from what Josh and you had talked about, like this is the greatest job. I wish everybody in the world could do it, because honestly, you talk about satisfying gratification. See person that's acting up, put them in timeout. It's just that easy. And you love it, because you're like, man, I mean, how many times have people in the civilian world seen somebody say, man, where's a cop when you need him? Well, when you are that cop, you get him.
Yeah.
So when I went back to construction and landscaping, I'm like, I'm out in the Arizona heat in the middle of the sun, banging into that rock hard earth. And I'm just like, so pissed off. I'm like, what in the F am I doing here? This is bull crap. I'm a cop and I shouldn't be out here slaving in this crap.
This is after you retired, right?
Yeah. And I mean, I hated it. Like I wasn't doing a good job of digging that hole. I was crushing some people's heads with that pick.
Yeah.
I was like, you son of a, I mean, I'm not kidding you. I was having anxiety attacks and taking it out in that hole. And so the work, I completely hated it, despised every minute of it, and thought it was punishment. I almost thought I was like sentenced to a daggone chain gang.
So when you retired, how long did it take for you to kick in that you, like, were you struggling with the identity? How long?
Yeah, because I mean, I did that for a brief period of time and hated it and quit it and stopped it.
Yeah, I know, but how long from the time you retired to the time that you went to construction?
Immediately.
So you retired and then went straight into fucking construction?
Well, like I said, they were there. They had it all, and all I had to do was just show up one day, drooling and peeing on myself. And they're like, yeah, we got you. What do you need done? You know. And
so
all
did
this
you
stuff.
struggle with your identity?
Yeah. Yeah.
What was the struggle?
The struggle was I don't belong here. This isn't where I should
It was
be.
beneath you?
No, it wasn't beneath me. It was,
That's
it
what
was
I was
punitive.
thinking.
To me, I thought it was punishment, because remember, I got fired from the police department.
Right.
And so I was like, so now I'm fired, and now I'm sentenced to this. It almost felt like a sentence. And it's just like, this isn't, I mean, no satisfaction in it in any way, shape, or form.
How'd you cope?
Drinking.
A lot.
Oh, my gosh. Yeah, so that's when I really started drinking extremely heavy. And that's conducive to a lot of construction people and landscaping and stuff like that. When you're out sweating your guts out, man, and your body aches so bad, I mean, you need alcohol to like lubricate your joints at the end of the day. And so all of those guys were on board with it. They're like, oh yeah, we're going to the bar.
You're reliving the bang.
Yeah, exactly. We're going to the bar, and here I am just seething, full of anger and rage, and having all these other things. I tried working for a friend of mine prior to going back to that, and he said, hey, I got you, man. I'll just put you in a supervisory role. I think it lasted 2 days. Because I was out walking this pipeline, and too much solitude. So I'm walking this pipeline along Tempe Town Lake when they were doing this big bypass.
Hadn't been built
thing.
yet.
No, and I'm just like walking and walking and walking this pipeline. And I was hallucinating still at that point. And I see that guy walking towards me, and I'm like, whoop. I'll turn back around, start walking back. Hey, man, you got to walk to the end of the pipipeline. Get down there. I said, no, I'm not going to go down there.
Like, fuck that, bad people down there.
Yeah, I was having a real bad time. So that lasted 2 days. Then I went over to, work with my family in the construction and landscaping and stuff, but
so when
hated it.
When you
Hated
did get your final blessing that you were retired, because you did that, right?
Uh-huh.
It solidifies the fact that now you are on paper retired police officer. Did you struggle with that at that point?
Struggled with it in many ways. One, the guilt of, hey, I wanted 20. You know what I mean?
Like you didn't own up and
Yeah.
keep your end of the bargain?
I don't feel like I fell short of it. I just feel like, man, that wasn't what my plan was. Like, I knew what the next 15 years were supposed to be like. And then I was like what you said, now what do I do? Well, I am managing a lot of myself. Like I was going to the doctor 5 days a week, to shrink, and then I had my psychiatrist on top of that, and then I had to have just the gauntlet of stuff you got to go through with blood work and all that stuff, and none of that stuff's working. Anyway, but yeah, as far as identity, I had no idea what I was supposed to do or be when I grow up.
So Josh, did you struggle with that too? Like, I mean, you were a long ways from your 20. Did you feel like you failed in any way by not making that 20?
No.
You were good with it after.
Dude, he was shot in the
I'm
face.
not saying I agree with that.
He's paid like the, you know what I mean? Essentially
agree.
the ultimate price.
Yeah.
He was fortunate and he lived. Like
Right. I agree, but this is the same motherfucker that wanted to go back to work after getting shot in the face. So that's why I was asking, like, did you struggle with that? Like, fuck, you took me out of the game before the game really got started for me,
Yeah.
And did that ever cross, I'm not trying to stir up old memories, but that ever cross your mind, like, fuck, I never made gangs or undercover or homicide, like all that shit's gone now. Did that ever fuck with you or cross your mind at all?
There was disappointment with it, but
it's out of your hands though, right? You understand that.
Yeah.
I think because he understands that, it changes the dynamic. Some people just would feel like they got yanked too soon, especially like in Mark's position. I don't know how the fuck he went back to work like after you fucking just were done.
Dude, I had bills
but
to
you
pay,
didn't have
man.
a check. That's
I don't
right.
have bills. I had
forgot
bills,
about
yeah.
that.
Like I was selling CDs in my front driveway. Like, hey, man, you want to buy a CD? CD's only $1. Come on. Honestly, I did.
That's
I sold
fucking
hundreds of CDs
Jesus.
just to try to get grocery money and everything else and stop my house from being foreclosed.
So how
all
did
kinds
you
of
finally
stuff.
come to terms with where you're at now? And how long did it take?
I'm at terms.
I know. I was just going to ask, are you at terms?
No, I am not at
No.
terms. And it's funny because I feel like I'm on the cusp of getting there, but just now. So this month is 15 years for me. So it's taken that long for me to think that I'm at the top of that wave and I can look down and maybe I'm about to see where I'm going to land.
Right.
But I don't know. I mean, I have my book. I do speaking engagements and stuff like that. I work with you guys. I do a lot of volunteer work. I'm working for Canine Defense, where we did the art therapy at.
Yeah.
Just volunteering there and stuff like that. But still, honestly, man, to be quite frank with you, still searching for what do I want to be when I grow up.
It's hard though.
It's-
like being a cop is.
It's impossible.
There's so much responsibility
and
so much pride.
It is.
To it.
And you know what else? So when you were talking, Manny, and you said, you to feel that adrenaline, what are you doing? You know what I did? Like I was so hard up for that and so insanely out of my mind in this landscape and stuff that I tried to get back into bull riding.
Oh Jesus.
Oh,
Yeah,
wow.
man. I went skydiving.
That's
I'm like,
fucking
I got to
nuts.
get some adrenaline, man. I'm like floating on flatline. I'm gonna die if I don't have something. I did. I went skydiving. I tried bull riding again. Broke myself up bad. And it's like, what are you stupid?
What about the making the difference part? How much of that took a
So,
toll?
well, yeah. Here's what I did. Like I was volunteering at my church at least 30 hours a week.
Wow.
And I was studying to be a pastor. I was going to get ordained.
Good Lord.
I'm
Mark
serious.
as a
This
pastor.
mount.
Yeah,
It's gonna be yeah. Can you imagine the
Forgive
bridle?
me, Mark, for I have sinned.
The bridle they would have had to put on this thing.
Yeah.
And trying to get into that and trying to form myself into something like that where, you know what? Hey, I can't stop them, but maybe I can prevent them from being a criminal. Maybe I can reform them. Maybe I can help with recovery with the families of people that have gone off to prison and made wrong choices and stuff like that. I was working with some prison ministries and stuff like that.
Prison ministries.
I know, man.
You're
I
gonna
know.
Fucking help the
I'm
criminals.
telling you, I know.
Anything
Can you imagine?
to feel like you're needed.
Yeah, honestly, I was. I really was. And I was just like, anything I can do to try to help somebody and have a mission, because I have no mission at all. That's what I felt.
So did you ever apply for any kind of like a secondary law enforcement career, like non-enforcement, maybe?
Well, I started, and I got information on a lot of places, and all of them said, same thing, and I checked in the military. I said, well, I'll just go back in, finish out 10 more years, get a retirement out of the Air Force. And they said, oh, you got that. And I said, yeah, but, I mean, you got combat people. They've seen some rugged stuff. I can
Right.
fit right in with them. And honestly, I said, you know what? Just put me over in Iraq. Just put me in Afghanistan. I said, and just let me off the leash.
Yeah.
That's what I was thinking. They would, love something like that. But they said, no, unfortunately, you got to be off your medication for 2 years.
Oh, Jesus.
And you got to get a doctor to say you're
Sign
good to
off.
go. I was like, well, that's cool. I can go in and lie to those doctors. Because at this point, I'm like, I know everything that they say I have, and I'll just lie around it. But getting off that medication, that was rough. So I started doing it. I started backing my meds off, and I know I've told you guys this number of times, but I had this one capsule, and it had like 175 little medicine balls inside of it. So I'd pull them apart.
You only take half?
Count them out. Yeah. At first it was easy because I'd just take half of the pills and dump the other half out, and I'd eat the capsule. But then when it got down to less than that, I was like, I was counting out the half, and I was like, okay, there's 25 pills, 25 little balls in this capsule. That's what I'm taking this month. And so it took me months and months
And wean
months.
yourself off that shit,
Yeah.
huh?
Yeah. Sure
I
did.
just stopped like all at once.
I don't know which is worse.
Because you're tough. I
Sitting
got
there
off my
counting out
meds.
that
I
shit.
got off my meds hardcore like that a couple of times. And oh my gosh, the first time I did it, I was in such agony. I did it by accident. I went up north and forgot my meds on a camping trip.
Oh.
I mean, I was in such pain. It felt like someone was beating my body, punching it all at the same time, simultaneously. And I was like, holy crap, does this hurt? I said, I've never had pain like all of my body hurting at the same time, and then crying and then laughing and wanting to throw up. I was like, I don't know.
That was the worst part for me, was the emotional stuff, because I
Yeah.
hadn't had feelings for so long. All of a sudden I had like a barrage of like happy and sad and angry, and I was
Came
like,
crashing
"What?"
down on you.
Yeah.
So where would you say you're at now in this part of it?
Right now, I feel really super optimistic, honestly, and that's a rarity for me. And I feel really good. And I know this different than what I like to call seasonal highs, because I noticed this over this 15-year regimen I've been on, that seasons affect my medication levels. Seasons affect my mood. Seasons affect my ups and downs, my depression, my anxieties, and all that stuff, and all the other symptoms. And I know that I'm normally at a super low at this time of year, but I'm really good. I'm really active. I'm doing meditation. I'm doing yoga. I'm doing reading my Bible, prayer, chanting, all kinds of anything I can do to get one minor gain. If it's one more inch, I'm gonna take it, and I don't care if I got to put in 8 hours to get it. I'm gonna take it.
So what about as far as your identity? What are you good with where you're at right now? Or are you looking to
No.
maybe apply for jobs? Have you applied for jobs?
No, I haven't.
Is there any particular reason why?
Well, I can't say I haven't applied for jobs. Like I volunteer at these places, specifically this dog kennel. I'm helping train some of their canines that are coming up for an upcoming academy, and I'm hoping that I can get in there. And they're gracious enough to say, "Hey, man, we know you got some limitations, so come in." Are you laughing?
I'm just like, I hate that. Like,
She laughed at me. She laughed at me. So.
I hate that though.
But you're
the
right.
truth now.
But they
right?
said that. They said, hey, we know you got limitations, so come in when you can and when you want to.
Mm-hmm.
And I found myself, without that pressure on there, I want to all the time.
Mm-hmm.
I
So-
always want to go in there. And I enjoy the work, and it's para-police, so, and I'm getting, it's so rewarding, and working with animals is like, man, there's, even though I got some dog bites already, it's still totally worth it, and it's very rewarding. It's probably the most rewarding thing I've found since I've been taken out of the PD.
So why not apply somewhere else? What's holding you back from applying?
I'm gonna put in some time here, get to know what I'm doing, have them train me, and then hopefully I'll transition into employment with these guys.
What about any other employment? What's keeping you from that? Working at like Home Depot, Lowe's?
I couldn't do that.
What about applying for like another non-enforcement agency?
honestly, like there's days when I still can't, like I can't get up and function, or I've had a long night where it's, you got 45 minutes worth of sleep,
Right.
and I can't get in and function on that kind of
So
stuff.
you have a disability, so
Mhm.
those are respected accommodations.
Right.
Is you putting on there that you have a disability a problem? Is that bothering you?
I never thought of that till you just said it. And yeah, I'd have a problem with that.
It would bother you to have to check that box as you have a disability,
Yeah.
even though they'd accommodate you.
Yeah.
Yeah,
That's if you would actually get through the hiring process. Though.
I've been through 2 checking that box that says I have a disability. So that's why I'm asking, because this particular officer is having a hard time. He's trying to get a job back in a non-enforcement, and he's struggling with his identity and stuff that makes a difference. So I guess the reason I ask you that is because there's 3 of us that have since been rehired with our disability, with accommodations. So for you, Mark, is that something that you think you can overcome? Like you can apply for a position?
Yeah, I'm optimistic, and I hope I can.
Yeah.
And I'm that's what I'm leaning towards. And it's not like I haven't had demands on me before, like with when I was working landscaping with my family and stuff.
Right.
They were there to help me out, and they would pick up what I couldn't do. I guess I'm afraid that it wouldn't happen, and I wouldn't be able to meet whatever would come.
What
you know?
demands they make?
Yeah, because I mean sometimes there's 3 days when I can't make it, and then it's like, that's only 2 days out of the week.
Yeah.
We need somebody to
It's
fill
only
in for
Tuesday.
this
It's only
guy.
Tuesday.
It's only Tuesday, and I can't get out of bed.
Yeah, and it's not just that I can't get out of bed. It's I can't get myself mentally rolling. Like earlier today, I forgot this appointment I had.
That's weird.
It was like an hour ago. I was supposed to be at a podcast, and
You get a text that says, "Where the fuck are you?"
yeah, and honestly, somebody had been talking to me about that. One of my friends was saying,
I
"Hey."
talked to you yesterday about it.
Yeah, oh, okay. He talked to me yesterday, and somebody was talking to me today about it. I said, "Yeah, I can't wait. It's really cool." And have you been watching? And they're like, "Yeah, I've seen some of them. They look good." And I said, "Yeah, it's cool. We have another one coming up today. I gotta be there at 4. I'm leaving this side of town at 4, so I can get over there by 5. I don't want to be late."
You completely skipped.
Beep.
This is why you have to set alarms.
So
Like, I
do
have
you-
alarms for everything.
I had an alarm.
Just so it triggers like
He-
a memory of what I need to do.
I had
He's
the alarm.
fucked up in the head. It doesn't matter. Did
Thank
you
you.
find that with you, Josh? That same, like, are you worried about having to disclose that you cannot, let's say, lift 25 pounds or more, or you can't do certain things? Has that even crossed your mind?
No,
Not at all?
Hasn't crossed my
This
mind.
motherfucker don't think about shit.
He's not there yet, man.
Yeah, he's just in the now.
I know that was the restriction. I think it was 20 pounds, 2 hands.
Yeah. Well, we went out for coffee one time, and I grab my drinks and I leave. I look back and he's struggling to get the second. I'm like, just pick the motherfucker up,
Aw.
right? And he's like, well, you got to treat him normal. He makes him
Nice.
feel good.
Nice.
That's sad.
He carried it though.
That's called ridiculing a person's handicap.
Yeah.
That's
Right.
You can
that's not
ridicule
tough
mine.
love,
I don't
man.
give a fuck.
That's not tough love.
All right, so
That's just tough.
Veronica, you
Yes.
since you retired, did you struggle with your identity after you retired?
So at first, the first couple of years, I wanted nothing to do with anything police related. So I was fine with it. Like the further I could get away from it, I was okay with it. But I was just so messed up that I thought would make me better. Like if I just stayed away from it. And then when I started feeling better, I was like, oh, I really miss my job. I like my people. I like working. I like doing this. So, I think sometimes I do. I think I struggle with the purpose behind the job, doing something that I do a lot of shit now, but none of it really is purposeful.
It doesn't really matter, does it?
No, like if I, whatever I'm doing really has no, and it's funny because I transitioned from after I left the PD and was okay, I started doing real estate, and I would hear people talk about like, oh, there's so much demand, there's all these stressors, and I was just like, are you kidding me? Like
Really?
These are not real life stressors. These are just, meaningless things. So, for me now, I obviously a year ago considered going back to work. I applied for jobs. Like I interviewed. I was all like, yes, I'm getting back into the PD. I'm going to do what I used to do on a non-sworn level though. And then that all kind of came crashing down. And I was like, yeah, no, I don't think I can do that. I don't think I can do that again. But I don't know. Like for me, this is all I've known, right? I grew up in it, and then I was a stay-at-home mom for the first part of my 20s, and then when I realized it was time for me to find a career and do something, the first thing I went into was police work. So this is all I've ever known. It's in my family. I've got nephews, cousins, my brother, my dad, like everybody around me was a cop or is a cop. And so I have a hard time not being involved in it, and not necessarily just I don't know. I found for a while afterwards, I was like, I would read all the articles about what was going on in the world with cops, what was happening, like all the, all the shootings, all the trouble, because when I left, it was when all the stuff started happening, like with Baltimore, and it was a bad time for cops, right?
2008, right?
No. This was 2015, 16.
Right.
When all the stuff back east started happening. And so it was a bad time for cops, period. But, I really did struggle for a long time just not being there, being able to like get up and go do something about it, right? Like all the other cops that I was friends with, they were still out there like doing something, being proactive and trying to make a difference in something. So I struggled with that a lot. I think for me, getting involved with PISTLE, because I started PISTLE years ago when I first went through my critical incident, and then I kind of just faltered off and thought I could take care of myself and I didn't need any help. Yeah, it didn't work out so
not
well. Very well. And then so it's probably only been like about a year or so that I got back into PISTLE and have been doing it continuously and trying to get more involved with it and with police departments and officers in general. So for me, that's now like where I see my purpose. Like I can't imagine going back to work as a cop, although I think some part of me would love that adrenaline and that feeling of just getting ready and going and doing something. But at the end of the day, like I just know that, like Mark said, I could probably do it for a few hours a day, but I don't know that I could get up every day at 3:30, be at work at 5, stay there till 3, deal with all the nuances of the day, and then do it again the next day. So
what about a regular job? Just a regular job from 8 to 5, let's say.
The same thing, though. I think there are some days, so I'm really fortunate in what I do now. I do a lot of stuff, but I really have control over my schedule for all of those, and nothing starts super early. So I can sleep in if I have to. I can just skip the gym and sleep in a couple hours extra to try to get through it. Nice. Through the day, or I can be done early if I need to. So it's really flexible for me, which is very beneficial, because if I know, like on the days where I go, like by the end of that day or the third day in, like my brain is so fried. I can't do.
You're gonna pay a toll.
Yeah,
I know.
Evil eye.
It's coming. I know what you're talking about.
Yeah,
like I can jam into something for a little bit and say, "Oh my gosh, what have I done?"
By the end of the week, I know
Yeah.
I'm gonna just be done, and
Yeah.
I'm not effective as a forget as an employee, but as a mom, as a spouse.
Yeah.
Like I'm ineffective in everything because my head hurts. Like I'm exhausted, like mentally just done.
So the same question to you that I gave Mark. Applying for another job, does that bother you to have to disclose that you have PTSD, or is that prohibiting you from applying for any positions that are open?
Well, I definitely haven't told the last couple places that I started working with, but I did when I thought I was going to go back into police work. I disclosed to them, and I remember at one of my interviews, like at the end of it, because they ask questions like, well, what have you overcame that's significant, right? And I'm like, oh, hey.
These 4 letters.
Right. And I remember at one of my last interviews, I think, the officer that was sitting in front of me after we were all done, he was like, hey, just so you know, I was there. That was a shitty call for anybody. And I was like, all right, like, I don't know what that means. Are we buddies now?
I hired?
Right. Or did you just push me aside, So things like that.
So do you struggle with your identity now?
I feel like I just have been so removed from it. It's not that big a deal. There's some people who we know who think we're still cops. And so they'll be like, oh, so, are you a detective now? Like, what do you do? And I'm like, I haven't done anything for years.
Yeah.
Like, that's just,
But do you ever struggle with, like, I know what you do now. Like, do you ever think to yourself, I'm measuring these fucking closets, and 10 years ago I was measuring a shooting scene?
A shooting scene, right? Yeah. The significance of it is completely different. For me, doing like the design work and stuff is more therapy than anything because it's peaceful, it's quiet. Like people want me there. I'm not just pounding on a door to get in because some shit's happening on the other side of
not
it.
writing a search warrant to get in.
Right? Yeah. No. So. And I find people are really trusting. It's crazy. Like they just leave me in their home for hours and hours to go through their shit.
They know you're a cop, though, right?
No, I don't tell anybody when I'm
Jesus.
there. It's a rare occasion that I'll mention something like that. But no, I don't. I don't even remember your question.
Neither do I.
Well, I got a follow up, sorta, and that is. When you started talking, you were saying, hey, the people were saying, oh, there's so much stress in real estate and and you're talking about all the stresses, and you made a statement that says, what, are you kidding me? That's stressful? And so I had a really hard time relating to people and what they thought was something to panic about.
Right.
To the point that I got angry at them, like I wanted to shake them like a toddler.
Mm-hmm.
You shouldn't shake a toddler.
It is. I would arrest you for that.
But it just, I wanted to shake them senseless because I'm like, what, are you kidding me? This
And
isn't anything to worry about. And I'll give you something to worry about.
Right. Some people have no clue. Like they have either they're sheltered or they've just never been experienced in life. They think, like
well, they're not cynical.
Well, no,
not
but even
cynical.
there are like
We're
people
not cynical.
but even like in real estate, right? Like they talk to you in real estate school about, well, you have to be able to knock on someone's door and you have to be able to talk to people. And I'm like,
That's a knock and talk.
Right. Like I'm going to knock for purposeful, like a good reason. I'm not knocking to, like I said, to see what's on the other side of the door to take someone to jail. Like I'm knocking to talk to people about their fucking house. Like it's not a big deal. Like and they're like, oh, you have to be able to face rejection and stuff. And I'm like,
Whatever.
People hated me all day in a uniform, right? Like now I
you.
can put a dress on and people like me, where they hated me all day in a uniform, So, no, I mean, so for me, just working with PISTLE, getting involved again, getting back into some of the PDs, but on a civilian side where I'm not accountable to the upper management and I'm there truly just to help officers, that for me has been really helpful in regaining some of that identity. I'm not out there helping the community, but I feel like we lack in helping our police officers, that's a greater responsibility for me, because officers are there every day helping the community, but who helps them at the end of the day? They certainly, a majority of the time, don't get it from their peers or from their upper management. So I feel like me trying to get back into it on that level really gives me that purpose again.
So you not applying for a full-time job, in the truest sense, 8 to 5, what's preventing you from doing that?
The physical repercussions that I know I'll face, the exhaustion, the headaches, like I become less effective as a mom and as a spouse because I feel like shit because I'm just going all day literally makes me sick. It makes me unhealthy.
I'd be setting myself up for failure is how I look at that.
It's
I will
unhealthy.
definitely fail.
Mentally, right? Not physically.
No, it will be physically.
Because
What
it
physical part of
presents
that?
in it. So for me, it's like headaches. It's just the exhaustion, like the fatigue, the pain
and the
throughout
pain
body.
of all that stuff that I no longer have medication for is going to like crush me.
Or the anxiety.
And depression
like all these things,
will take me, and then the next thing you know. So, I mean, where Josh is at, hey, my full-time job is managing me right now.
Right.
And I got that because my full-time job is managing me without medication.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm telling you, I need 1,000 more hooks in the water to catch a fish than one dude with a giant net called, medication.
Mm-hmm.
So if you
I
were
don't
to
have
be on
that.
Lexapro and or any medication,
Well,
could
everything
you do the job?
No,
Could you do a
because everything I tried, it wasn't. I still had all the symptoms, and then I had the side effects of those medications too. So I'm like, why don't I just not have the side effects of the medication
Right.
and just deal with this puke in front of me instead?
Right.
That's easier. I'll deal with something that I know is a consistent, not the ups and downs of drugs.
Yeah.
But I
coming
do
and
think
going.
there is a place for the drugs.
Yeah,
that we
I'm not
take.
saying everybody dump your
there is
stuff down the
a point-
toilet
right,
because I
there's
needed it.
To
save my life
A
at
place
certain
for
points.
it.
Hmm?
Long term, I don't know that it's the best thing, but it's everybody individually. You know how it affects them differently. So
Right. So with me, once I retired.
hold on.
I-
So Manny, how do you feel about identity? Do you have issues?
Yeah.
I feel like you're always asking. You're like the question person.
Well, for me, I did. So when I first retired, I spent.
And before you can answer that question, I want to drop another question on top. So why don't you do it?
I did do it.
Oh,
So when I first retired, I spent 2 years on a chair, like I just sat there
I
for
know
2 years.
I know that chair.
I just sat there.
Yeah.
The TV was on, and I'm pretty sure the Olympics were on at one point, but I don't remember that. I just sat there, and every day at like 14:30 hours, my eyes would go to the clock, and I'm like, I need to be somewhere,
Hmm.
right? Because I work swings pretty much my whole career, and I'm like, where do I need to be? It's 2:30 in the afternoon. I need to be at briefing.
Hmm.
They weren't missing me, right? And I'd look at the clock and I'd be like, fuck, I don't have nowhere to be. It was like Friday for me, right? The movie Friday. You ain't got a job, you ain't got shit to do. Nobody's looking for you. And I struggled with the fact that no one needed me anywhere.
Yeah.
No one needed me anywhere.
Yeah.
And I kept thinking, my beat's going to fall apart, right? Like, what about those citizens that I had checked off on, the crimes that I had solved, and I kept thinking, who's going to take care of them? It was almost narcissistic in some ways, because I would think to myself, who's going to do it better than me, right? But I was retired. So I sat on the chair, and I had nowhere to be. I had no purpose whatsoever, right? My job was to maybe tighten some bolts around the house, like a honey-do list.
Mhm.
My wife's like, hey, the gate's falling apart, go tighten the bolts. That was my job. I wasn't allowed to wash dishes. I wasn't allowed to fuck with the house. But if it was something, hey.
if you ever feel like it, I have dishes you
Yeah,
can wash.
throw out the garbage. I'm like, fuck. I gotta throw out the garbage. And if you don't know, throwing out the garbage takes all of about 2.5 minutes of your life.
Right.
And then you go back to the couch. And you're like, fuck, what do I do now? Wait for the next chore. So for 2 years, that's what I did. I sat there and I tried to figure out where I belonged. And at about the 2-year mark, I thought, for the next, let's see. So the average life expectancy is till 80, right? Roughly. I retired at 40. So I got 40 years
Couch
of sitting
nothing.
on this fucking
Couch
couch.
duty.
That's what I thought.
The
I'm like, my whole
calluses.
fucking day revolves around this fucking chair. And so I'm like, what do we do? So, I thought I never drank midday, right? Because I was always at work. So one day I drive out and I'm like, let's go get a mimosa. It's 11:30 in the morning. Take a picture, send to my buddies. They're like, fuck you, I got to go to work today.
That's saying a lot about you right there.
Right.
Drinking
A
a mimosa, ladies and gentlemen. A mimosa,
Yeah.
ladies and
So
gentlemen.
I
What they were out of mint juleps?
No, I struggled with,
Pansy.
I couldn't figure out where I belonged, right? Because I didn't belong in my wife's world, which was a housewife,
Hmm.
mom. Veronica couldn't understand that. I didn't
You guys
belong in
kinda
that
fucked that
world,
up.
right? I didn't know how to work the dishwasher. I didn't know how to fucking deal with bills. I was always at work. She handled that. It was a good arrangement that we had. And I would sit there and I'm like, nobody needs me anywhere, right? I would get up and she'd be like, you want to go to Safeway? I'm like, sure, why not, right? But in Safeway, the biggest stressor was how much orange juice was, right? Because orange juice was $7 fucking dollars. And I'm like, who the fuck pays $7 for orange juice?
It's always been overpriced.
Right. And so now I'm dealing with, what do I do from this point on? I'm 40. Realistically, I got another 40 years to live. And what am I going to do that makes a difference? Nothing.
Right.
Because nothing compares to the job that I just left.
Right.
Right?
Right.
And so I apply for several jobs. I get a job at Chase Bank.
Hmm.
And I'm thinking to myself, how did I get from being a police officer, detective, solving crimes, writing search warrants, doing grand juries, to $12.50 an hour, answering phones because you lost your debit card, right? But in reality, it was very soothing to me because their stress meant nothing to me. I'm
Right.
like, you lost your debit card? Let me get you another one. I'll make your day today, right?
But you said something though. So did the dollar amount bother you? Because I know, like, when I left work and then anything I thought about afterwards, like, I compared it and I was like, I was making this much. A third of that is not okay. Like, first of all, who can live on it? I could barely live on what I was making, right? And now I'm only worth this much. Like, so that was really hard for me.
For me, it wasn't because I don't know about the rest of you, but I have a GED. So I'm worth about $12.50 an hour.
I have a question.
Good.
What's a GED?
Good enough diploma. That's
All right,
what it stands for. So I'm thinking to myself, I have a GED, right? And they're going to pay me $12.50 an hour to answer phones. Seems fair, right? Because it's not the hardest job in the world to do.
But even coming from where you were and what you were making, like,
no, because
seems
at that
fair,
point
but
in
like,
my mind, that's what I deserved because that's what I was capable of doing. I was not capable of doing what I did the year before, right? I could answer the phone, right? And this is my monologue because that was a script. And it's like, I hear these, which fucked me up anyways because I hear these tones in my headset.
Oh.
I had a microphone that goes in my mouth and it goes, boop, and I was
Oh,
like,
hot
shit.
tone.
Hot tone. Right? And I'd be like, thank you for calling Chase. This is Matt. How I can help you today? And then they'd be like, I never failed. They on the other line, they'd be like, I lost my debit card. Somebody charged $1 million on my debit card. I'm like, calm down, man. Calm down. You're not responsible for it, right? And they were like, I need a new one. And I'm like, give me your name, date of birth, address, whatever. And that was my job. And I struggled with my identity because I thought, how did I get from solving these crimes, arresting people, indicting people,
right,
to a debit card, right? And one of the things that I dealt with, that I had to deal with, was I had to ask for accommodations because I needed more breaks, right? And I struggled with that. I didn't want to be different from anyone else. I just wanted to be normal. But I had to go to the nurse and I had to tell her, hey, I struggle with PTSD because I checked the box. And I need X amount of breaks because I cannot mentally do this for 8 hours a day. Because people I don't know how dispatchers do it. I got much respect for those fucking people.
I always have.
Right? And
angels of the airway.
yeah,
man.
and they
and
accommodated
then their
me.
calming, soothing voice all
I know.
the time. Like,
Right. They accommodated me, and they said, whatever you need, just tell us. And I told them I need to take breaks X amount of time. And that really set forth what I needed to move forward to continue on with my life and not be ashamed or not ask for the help that I needed, because I told them this is what I need. They gave it to me. It helped me. I could move on. And on my exit interview, when I left Chase, I told the main guy, I said, look, you need to treat your employees better because you're burning them to the fucking ground. Because they would, right? The customer was always right. Didn't matter if they fucked their checkbook up or they did something wrong, but you had to be nice to them. It was kind of like police work, right? I know your husband just beat the shit out of you, ma'am, but he's going to go to jail. And this is why. And so I struggled with my identity for a while, but like Veronica, I wanted to be left alone. I just wanted to go to a cubicle, want to answer a phone, and I wanted to be left alone. I needed that. But unfortunately, society doesn't let that happen, because as soon as they found out I was a cop, then came the question.
You have some cool stories, don't you?
Have you ever seen any dead bodies?
Have you ever shot anybody?
Have you ever shot anybody?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Hey, did you ever get shot? right?
Have you ever
What's the
shot
girl's-
anybody? Not until just now.
Right. They would. Are you here because you're trying to find out who's selling marijuana in the bathrooms?
Love it.
Yeah. And
Love
meanwhile, I'm on fucking Trazodone, Risperidone, Lexapro. Like I'm dealing all the dope I can deal out of the restrooms. But
No, you weren't.
yeah.
But anyway.
But ultimately, I was not okay with being a member of everyday society.
Yeah.
I was not okay with that. I don't want to be in La La Land. I didn't want to be, but I had to find, like, I had to go through that for 2 years. So 2 years I'm dealing with that. I'd go in, I had a cubicle, log in, follow their rules. Normal people outside of law enforcement, their lives, they're really not that bad, right?
No.
For birthdays, they make balloons and they make cakes. Yay, it's Veronica's birthday. You
It
know?
almost is actually, just so you know.
Yeah. And it's
Coming
like,
up.
They're like, it's Veronica's birthday month. Let's get her
see.
shit, you know.
And her favorite color is.
Yeah.
Yeah. Let me just let you know so you don't
And
forget.
So,
Next Monday.
okay.
Wow.
But in my world as a police officer, nobody give a fuck about my birthday, right?
I used to make my guys food and bring them treats and shit
Yeah,
on their
well,
birthday.
we don't get that shit at PISTLE, so don't even bring that shit up.
Yeah, that's
But,
true.
Not happening.
yeah.
Drink your coffee.
I did see a big difference in what police work is missing, because we didn't have that in police work. Trying to get back into the rhythm of stuff and realizing that I needed to get back into a job that mattered, where I felt like I was needed, not just a cog in a machine. I did feel that way as a police officer, only after I retired, but I really believed that I made a difference every time I went 10-8,
I absolutely did.
right? Like
Yeah.
I thought, I'm making a difference today.
There was somebody got arrested every day I was on the
Right.
street.
Right.
Every day I tried to arrest at least 2 people and take 6 reports.
Right.
Oh.
That was my standard. I was like,
That's out of control.
6 reports, 2 people
much
going
for
down.
WPD.
2 people,
Seriously.
6 reports, 2 people going down.
Yeah.
Wow.
And that's all there was. And it was so easy to do. I mean, I worked in a terrible part of the city I worked in, but still,
So
it's easy.
I did struggle
Ow.
with my identity
I
for a
know.
while.
That hurt.
And then I got hired back in a non-enforcement capacity, and I checked the box that said I had PTSD. And both the captain of the department and the second in command of the whole division, they graciously said, whatever you need, we'll help you. And I said, look, there's going to be some days that I call and tell you I'm not coming into work, and I really don't have a reason. I can't tell you a reason. And they said, whatever you need, you let us know. And I have since, in 3 years, used that 3 times, where I woke up and thought, I cannot make it into work. And more importantly, it was just because I needed to feel like I was needed again.
Wow.
Right? That was the one thing, like somebody's looking for me. If I'm not there, somebody's looking for me.
That's a pretty impressive record, that few call-ins in that length of time.
Well,
good for you, man.
It's
Good for
very
you.
difficult.
Do you think that has anything to do with the fact that you're supported by your administration there? They understand.
There's no departmental betrayal.
Yeah.
No, I think it really just had to do with the fact that I was honest with what I was dealing with, and they accepted it. Right?
Well, you had phases of it too, though, that I was resonating with, and that was, or that resonated with me, and that was, you had your vegetative state, like the first part.
Right. I went through stages.
Yeah, I did too.
Yeah.
And I mean, there was times when I was in where you're at, and I was sucked into that couch. I couldn't move, and I know my job was the dishes, and you know what? I couldn't
They don't.
I
Get
couldn't
done.
think of those dishes, man.
Right.
That was the biggest job in the world.
Mhm.
And then it got better, and then I was able to get out, and that's when like my family helped me where I was actually in a employment situation. But that was after I got retired.
Well, and I think I was talking to Veronica or Josh, but I had a report due, right? I had to write a report because I'm a
Yes.
so I had to write a report, and it literally took me 2 weeks to write 2 paragraphs.
Nice.
Like I
That's
was
now
like,
you
That's
know
a
why I do
synopsis.
like when I do the social medias, it literally will take me an hour to do 2 sentences. Or
Well, you
something.
guys have read my book. That took 10 years,
Yeah.
and it's all jacked up.
But I thought it was good because for me, the department has actually given me the ability to try to go through that. Like, my boss doesn't give me any grievance. He's like, hey, whenever you write it, you write it. It's not a big deal as long as it went to the courts. But it's very, even to this day, 7 years out, it's hard to write a police report because it hurts my head, right? And for the officer that asked for the podcast, it will get better, right? Because I work, Veronica works, Mark does stuff, Josh is watching a fucking 4-month-old.
You do stuff.
Yeah.
See how I would digress? He's like, I
Mark
have a
does
job.
shit.
Veronica has a job. Mark does stuff.
shit.
And Josh is babysitting. Listen, folks, you just had it all laid out for you in the time frame.
Mark,
That's how it's going
How
to
long
go.
did it take you to do that fucking job you did?
Oh, my gosh.
Yeah. How long? Come on.
So there's this lady I was trying to help out and did a bathroom remodel. And honestly, it would take a normal human being. It would
Should
probably
have called this guy.
taken maybe outside on the outside 3 weeks,
How long did it take you?
over 3 months. Yeah, and it's like at the end of that, the people are just like, no.
It's too long.
But it does.
it's-
Things just take long.
And-
Like,
oh
we-
my gosh,
We
like-
moved back in June 1st, I think, and the front room in my house is still just stocked full of stuff I need to put away. Like, and
Yeah.
I just don't even look at it anymore. Where before it would have driven, I would have been
Yeah,
like
but
up
you
all night and all
also
day.
fucking cleaned out your goddamn garage.
Oh, that
like,
was
that
terrible.
was just the dumbest thing to
It
do
was
ever.
as heat exhaustion. Don't do that in Arizona. I don't recommend it.
All right. Well, I appreciate you guys coming out and disclosing all that stuff. I know Josh, even though he only 3 years on, he has the best outlook on life.
He does.
To be young
God
and
bless
not
you.
really care. God bless Josh.
Exactly.
When all his physical therapy is over, he's fucked. He just doesn't know it yet.
No, he's not. He's going to be better than the rest of us
He
are.
probably will because he's got a little one that he's got to mold.
Not only that, but he's got all of our wealth of knowledge
Right.
laid out in front of him.
All right. So as
least all the
always, at the end of the podcast, to us and those like us, for all of us that struggle every day, you guys be safe, and we'll see you on the next one.
God bless.